after a long, terrible holiday break where we missed him so much. More importantly, he missed us. It's time to check in again with Hubert Davis, brought to you by CR Legal Team. CR Commitment, CR Results, CR Legal Team, proud partner of Carolina Athletics. Coach, so much to check in about that Notre Dame game with all kinds of crazy stuff happened at the end of that game.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Can you sort of take us in the huddle, because you got kind of a stoppage there before Elliott took the free throw as the officials were looking at something.
Yeah.
What did you tell your team about how to defend in a situation where the whistles were blowing all over the place and they had a really good guard? What did you tell them to do?
Well, I mean, first of all, when Elliott hit the shot, I did not know he got fouled. And so I was getting ready to call timeout, and a couple assistants said, don't call timeout. Let's just see what happens after Elliott's free throw. And I was like, why is he shooting free throws? They were like, he got fouled. It was and one. I was like, oh, my goodness, And so brought the team over while the referees were looking at something. And I just went through. I said, look, after Elliott makes the free throw, I'm going to call timeout, and I'll tell you what defense that we're in, and we'll get a last stop, and we'll win the game. And Elliott was the one that said, well, Coach, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, what if I miss? And I was like, well, I wasn't thinking that at all. And I was like, you're going to make it. And I couldn't think of anybody better to be on the free throw line to put us up by one other than you. And I said, guys, no lane violation. If something happens, obviously we're switching everything, and we've got to get this game and get a stop so we can go into overtime. But I said, that's not going to happen. Elliott's going to hit the free throw, and I'll call timeout and I'll tell you what defense we're in. It's really, it's interesting late game situations. At first I didn't put anybody on the ball, but I decided to put somebody on the ball. And the reason being is just personal experience of, what happened in 2016. I always want to put somebody in the ball, not let it easily just get the ball in bounds. But that takes away an added defender on somebody like Burton, who, he got up the court in 2 seconds. And so I didn't feel really good when he was driving to the basket, but I thought Elliott did a really good job of contesting without fouling. And you're right, there were a lot of fouls called and made his shot very difficult. And it was awesome when he missed a shot and the buzzer went off.
From the fouling perspective, the two lead guards from the two teams you played this past week, Hepburn from Louisville and then Burton from Notre Dame, shot 30 free throws between the two of them. I think this number's right, that Carolina got called in the second halves of those two games for 30 fouls in those two second halves.
Yeah.
That's a lot of whistles, obviously. What would you like to happen better defensively? How can you avoid getting in some of those situations where the whistles are blowing so frequently?
Yeah, we've got to do a much better job of defending without fouling. In both games, Louisville and Notre Dame, I felt like both of them got back into the game by getting to the free throw line. And there's a couple ways to combat that. One, got to do a better job defending without fouling. Number two, let's go back at them. And so let's us get to the free throw line. But also changing up our defenses a little bit in terms of not letting the ball get to those really good guards that do a great job of drawing fouls and against us. And so you're right, in the second halves, in the last couple games, that's been a problem for us. I felt like we had a really good lead against Notre Dame, and their ability to score one-on-one and get to the free throw line allowed them to get back into the game. And that's something that moving forward is just going to have to change because it's not sustainable.
We hear you at practice a lot say, be a basketball player, talking to your entire team, not one specific person.
Yeah.
The next to last possession at Notre Dame, Elliott said, we were looking for a three-pointer. That's what the play was. He said, but I saw there was an opening, and I took it for a layup.
Yeah.
What does that say to you about his progress in just being a basketball player?
No, it is. I want our guys to play fast and free, and I want them to be able to use their gifts and talents out there on the floor, and I want them to feel confident to be able to do it. My job is to put them in the right spots out there on the floor, and then to back up and allow them to use their gifts and talents out there. And it was great in that situation the first time that, I told the team, I said, look, if there's a 3 available, let's shoot it. But we have enough time. Let's try to get a quick 2. And Elliott did a really good job. I thought he got fouled and on that one. And so he was able to get to the basket and be able to score. And then we were able to set up, I called a timeout there, and we were able to set up our press. We had the perfect situation. We had an opportunity to foul one of their worst free throw shooters, and we didn't do it. And then we fouled one of their best free throw shooters. And so even with 14 seconds, the last, before the 3 that Elliott hit, I still think in that situation, and I told him we still can get a quick 2. We still had enough time. But if there's a 3 there, we've got to take it. We didn't run that play completely correctly. And so it put Elliott in a situation going one-on-one. And by that time, you needed to shoot a 3. And that's a shot that he shoots in practice. That's a shot that he's practiced before and after practice. And it doesn't surprise me that it went in.
When you and I were talking after the Notre Dame game, you said one of the things you were really pleased about is that you felt like your guys had played together, been more of a team, and kind of had some things go wrong and didn't point fingers and just kind of got tighter when that happened. I know that's been something that you've been looking for. How do you try and grow from that, I guess? Yeah,
I mean, I thought it was, and I told the team that was the best game in where I felt like they were connected, they were talking, the voices, how loud they were talking in the locker room, before the game, in the huddles, on the court, was at an all-time best. And I told them that I loved it. That was my favorite part of the game, and I needed even more. And for this group to become a team, I think it's a great group. I love being around them. I love coaching them. But there's a difference between being a group and being a team. And a team is, you work together to solve problems. A team holds each other accountable, and a team is their interests and their goals are completely aligned. And I felt like we played that way against Notre Dame, and I was really proud of them.
What does that mean to hold each other accountable?
Well, I say this to them all the time. I give you example. Like, if a coach is saying something to you, then you know that you're in a great spot. I said the worst spot that you can be as a player if a coach never corrects you, never coaches you, never says anything to you. So if you're ever in a situation where a coach or coaching staff never says anything to you, you need to get out of there quick, because that means that you're not important enough for them to coach you. And, I think it's important for the players to hold each other accountable on both ends, positive and negative. When someone does something really well, I think it's important for your teammates to go, you're doing a really good job. Keep it up. I love it. But if you're not boxing out, you're not talking on defense, you're not in the right position, you're not setting the screens, it can't just be from me. It's got to be from the guys out there on the floor, and you got to hold each other accountable. And if you hold each other accountable, to me, that's a sign of love, is when you're talking and holding someone accountable. And when you let things slide, that just never works. And so I felt like our guys did a really good job of that at Notre Dame.
Ian Jackson had another incredible performance, putting up 27. He had 15 early in the game. Just another great game from him. Seth Trimble is hopefully back in the very near future for Carolina as well. How do you try and manage who's on the floor at that point? You have a lot of guys, and the roster construction we've known from the beginning of the year. You have a lot of guards who are good players. How do you try and get all of those guys some relevant minutes, but also make sure you have the 5 that gives you the best chance to win?
Well, maybe the small guards are the best chance to win. And you'll see, when Seth comes back, you'll see, RJ, Elliott, Seth, and Ian out there on the floor. Ian I've never seen a freshman and really a guard score as easily as he does. I mean, it's just, he wakes up out of the bed and he's got 20. It's just so easy for him. And he, his size, his athletic ability, he can score. And 3 levels. His finishing package is elite. Shooting the ball extremely well from 3, gets to the free throw line, and so he's in a really nice rhythm right now. But in regards to, I love having playmakers out there on the floor, and the more playmakers out there, the happier I am. I believe in putting the best guys out there on the floor. If it's 5 point guards, it's 5 point guards. Just is what it is. But I think it's, you may say, well, you're sacrificing size. Well, we're not sacrificing quickness and skill, and so teams will have to adjust to us. And so there's enough minutes for all the players that deserve to be out there, and it gives us another option out there with Elliott, with Ian playing so well.